Hello all, and welcome to Wake Up with Marci. It's time to heal, transform, and be inspired. Today I sit down with Tobin Azuski, a neurolinguistic alchemist with aims to upgrade the collective consciousness. He will speak with us about changing your thoughts, changing your words, and changing your reality. He is truly proof that these things are life-changing. He overcame Tourette syndrome as a child, and he had a horrific car accident at 18. Tobin survived a broken neck, a broken back, suffered through third-degree burns covering 80% of his body, and had a 14-inch laceration on his scalp. He healed himself despite all odds and never accepted any limits. He says there is no such thing as impossible. He is proof that you can do anything you set your mind to. Tobin, thank you so much for coming on Wake Up with Marci.
Thank you for having me.
You have an incredible story, and I am just fascinated with changing your words and changing your outcome and really diving deep. And our brain, the power of our mind, right? But I want to talk about your story and start as a young child when you were diagnosed with Tourette syndrome.
Yeah.
So you were about 11 or 12 years old.
When the effects really manifested, I'd say on a public scale, when I started noticing or becoming aware of how other people were noticing me. When I speak to my mother about it, I think they said I was diagnosed around 7 or 8. But I really started noticing as puberty was coming along and chemistry was changing, and other people were recognizing what was going on. So,
Right. So I'm sure as a young person, it was very difficult when now your peers are starting to make fun of you.
Yeah, generally, I mean, I think everybody goes through that in some degree or another at some point in their life. But it was bewildering to me because I had never been in any situation where I didn't have control, which a lot of us can relate to probably. And all of a sudden, life likes to shock us and take that control from us completely and force us to deal with this other perspective. So it was a challenge, mostly in how the social interactions were happening, because it was a first. I'd always been the star athlete. I was very good in school. I wouldn't say I was the smartest in the class, but I was in classes with the smartest kids in the classes. So I never had any struggle or any type of judgment coming from other people in a negative way. And then all of a sudden, I was having outbursts in public, and all of these 20 people who had all their own things that they probably felt judged for had an opportunity to judge me. And it was a lot.
And listen, I mean, I have 2 children, and middle school is so very difficult, and they are looking for almost any reason to deflect from their insecurities.
Correct.
So I have to tell you, I'm just in awe of your perspective at that age and realizing that you didn't have control, but you knew that somehow you could make a change. So tell us what exactly that was and what you did.
So I am still in awe. You give me this credit and you say you're in awe. It had nothing to do with me. It was a stumble upon thing. We've discussed this in previous conversations where it didn't make sense that I had such mastery over anything physical or athletic that I wanted to do, and intellectually. If I wanted to memorize something, if I wanted to master something, it was very
You have
instant.
a photographic memory.
I do, and I did, and we'll get to the accident and how that all came to be again. But when I was with this Tourette syndrome, it literally, you could look this up, it's an impulse, a neurological impulse that is, they say, an imbalance or an overproduction, kind of like certain people with hormone issues have an overproduction of estrogen or testosterone, and it affects their metabolism. My body and those with Tourette syndrome, the body and the brain produces too many neurological impulses, as they say, or more than what the average person can handle. Therefore, you'll get what manifested in me was a lot of a lot of blinking and uncontrolled blinking. There was throat clears. There was numerous other things. So I wasn't vocal, thankfully.
You weren't screaming out
I wasn't
things.
screaming out expletives. But what I've realized, which I don't know if any researchers have realized, is that when someone with Tourette syndrome is screaming an expletive, that is their last bit of frustration that they can handle. So they've controlled these impulses. They've used their mind's ability as much as they can and stretched it to the limit to not react. What could have been a facial tic or what could have been a little kind of obsessive compulsive behavior, they held it in so much that it finally manifests as a vocalization. They cannot control it. It's like a pot boiling over and the teapot screaming.
Yes.
And they are frustrated with themselves and their lack of ability to control it, and an expletive comes out. They're not screaming it outward. It's not the Tourette's that's making the expletive come out. In my understanding, it's the frustration of the host that it cannot fathom why their body is telling them to do something so almost embarrassing and out of control and out of the normal behavior.
We are constantly trying to control what people see us as, right?
Yeah.
Or what we think that they want to perceive us as. So now as a young person, you realize that you are out of control. These things are happening. But you made a decision that you would have control of that.
Yeah, and I would use these other skills, these intellectual abilities and athletic capacities to conquer this.
So, but share with us what that was, so maybe somebody out there, they can help themselves too.
And I feel this is the purpose of this all, so thank you. So I grew up in Ringwood. I wore this shirt appropriately because we represented anybody that you've ever met from Ringwood, New Jersey, you will know it very clearly.
Is that right?
It's an interesting town in space. We're older than the United States of America. There's still an existing Native American tribe that lives in the land and helps a lot of the people. So the land spoke to me. That's all I can say is I would get home from school. My parents would still be at work for a few hours, both entrepreneurs. And we wouldn't have sidewalks and streets, and we could go hang out with our friends and ride a bike down the street. So I would venture into the forest. And there was a part of the, Ramapo Mountains there that was an exposed mountaintop, and we have several of them. But this one by my house was facing the Appalachian Mountains, and there was nothing but rolling hills of beautiful trees. So as serene and peaceful and an opportunity to cultivate something as it will get. So I'm sitting at the top of this mountain knowing nothing about meditation or pranayama, or never been taught about this in our Western society. So I figured, let me deepen my breathing. Let me really try to resist this impulse. I'll dedicate an hour to it, 2 hours every day. And if I can resist it for that hour, I'm getting better. I'm training myself. And over a series of months, it would push further and back, and I was starting to get this mastery over it. And then I realized I would get home at the end of the night, and it's as if I had bottled it all up, stored it in a backpack, and then when I got home, it went back in me and it would burst out. I would go to my room and I would have 5-10 minutes of just an eruption of Tourette's effects, we'll say. I'm like, oh, this is terrible. I don't want to just bottle this up. It feels like I'm improving it, but if I'm coming back and it's like putting me to the ground, this is not worth it. I got to figure something out.
Add the physical side of it.
So I, really dove into deeper breathing. I was like, I need to extend this. It seems the breath is connected to my ability to control the neurological impulse. And as a result, one day there was a pop, and the Tourette impulses stopped affecting me. Not that they weren't there anymore, but I could say, nope. Just like the one time you stand up to that bully, and he's beating you down every day, and you just stand up and punch him right back in the face, they stop and they respect you, and you can coexist at that point. That's really what happens.
It's amazing just to see how much control we do have over this. When we come back, we will speak more with Tobin about the control that we have over our mind, and hear about the accident that he had and how he healed himself. Hello all, and welcome back to Wake Up with Marci. So Tobin, we were talking about Tourette syndrome, how you overcame that, and so you got through your middle school and high school years, right?
Yes,
with
correct.
This control and managed through you overcame Tourette syndrome.
Yeah, nobody knew. You can ask anybody from my high school or college experience, and they don't know that I have Tourette's. When I bring it up in conversation, they're like, what?
Unbelievable. So now life is happening, you turn 18, and you have this horrific car accident.
Yes.
So you know, look here. I mean, this is the car. I mean, it just is amazing that you are sitting here today.
Yeah, and where I was sitting in that car was, if you look to the right of the screen, that back tire that's crushed in, I was somehow just above that tire and came through that window to get out somehow.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So the car flipped 10 times. It was on fire.
It was not on fire, but all of the gasoline from the tank had spilled out and was covering me. So I was actually suffering chemical burns.
You were suffering chemical burns.
Yep. So it was soaking into my flesh and burning me as it was soaking.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and I was swallowing it as well.
And you were swallowing it.
Yeah.
So one of the things that you said was I mean, look at this. I mean, this laceration that you had.
Yeah, it took my ear off. It goes from, as you can see, the back side of my neck. There is actually a bit of skull exposed in that photo. That's after they put it all back on, and it goes kind of like a continent on our atlas around my head. And about 550 stitches put that back together. So
and here you are. Now,
that was probably the day after or 2 days after.
Okay.
So immense swelling, and I wasn't really there.
I was going to ask you, did you know who you were?
No.
Did you know what was happening?
I don't remember that. I do remember something from those days where at some point when they were wheeling me around, there was a mirror, and I didn't know where I was, if I was in hell, heaven, purgatory, what was happening.
You're right.
And I saw that, and I, for the first moment, realized this might be real.
Yeah.
And that alone probably started the healing process. Where I was like, all right, we've got quite a ways to come back from this one. Let's start.
Right.
And
So you had shared with me that, well, there was damage to the brain, right? You had no memory.
So I wasn't able to store new memories.
Right.
I retained all my memories from before, the area of my brain that was damaged. And I had swelling. If you ever seen that 80s movie Coneheads from the Saturday Night Live skit, I was actually like that. My mother had to press on my head and I had a drain in the back. Crazy from the fluid, from the swelling. So whatever the either incident caused or that swelling had caused was limiting me from storing new memories.
Wow.
Which I didn't find out until I was in my first day of college.
Well, we'll get to that, but I want to talk about, what are the doctors saying? What are they?
So basically, everything the doctors said at that time was what I would not be able to do from then on.
Right.
And in my traumatized state, my naive state, I should say, I said, well, that's not your job. I said, I'm here to figure out what I can do from here on.
So it's interesting because it starts off right away, right, with the negativity.
Yep.
These are all the things that you are not going to be able to do. This is planted in your mind now.
Correct.
And for most people, they're going to believe that. And you said no.
Immediately, to the point where an orthopedist called me crazy in his office. My mother told me to calm down and that I needed to listen to him because he was a doctor.
Right.
And whether it was the brain trauma or my necessity for survival to heal myself, the intensity that I was feeling that I needed to apply to everything, said, absolutely not. I'm not listening to your limitations. What I said to the orthopedist when he said I could never play soccer again was, if that's what you're leaving me here with and you're ruining my life at 18 years old and telling me I can't do the things I care about, I'm going out to the car, grabbing a soccer ball, punting it up as high as I can, and standing underneath it. If I survive, you're wrong and you should not be a doctor. And if I die, so be it. I died doing something I love. So with that statement, he said, okay, we'll figure out a way to get you back on the soccer field. So 4 months later, he had scheduled another MRI when I was done with my freshman season. I was redshirted, so I couldn't play. I was just training back. But I almost had to force the medical community to entertain the opportunity that I was going to heal.
So one thing that I want to point out right now is that, well, one, you are sitting here and it looks like nothing has happened. And you have no burns on your body.
Correct.
You have full capacity of your brain. I will tell you that your laceration is, I mean, it's not even noticeable.
Thank you. People say it looks like a scratch.
Yeah.
They asked me, I think he got scratched.
So basically, when you had this accident, it was, you know, be thankful you're alive, but you're not going to have much of a life.
Yeah.
And you changed that. And again, with your brain, changed your outcome.
Yes, I will interject that it was a combination of heart and brain. Because I didn't have much brain. Well,
we start with our heart, right?
Yeah, I didn't have much of my brain.
Yeah.
So a lot more of it came from my heart's will to recover. And interestingly, I said this in a documentary that was shot on me a few years ago, that I was a naked soul. I had nothing. Like, my body was so burnt, my brain was destroyed, I was broken. And what I realized is what I did have was my heart.
Yeah.
And I wasn't just a naked soul, that I did have my heart. And that was sending the messages that my head could heal because it believed in it.
Wow.
Right? So we visualize these dreams, these visions, and it requires our heart to believe in what we visualize for it to manifest in the physical.
So in this story, and when we come back, we will hear more about how we have control with our heart, our mind, our body, our soul. Hello all, and welcome back to Wake Up with Marci. So Tobin, we were talking about this horrific accident, how you were being told basically that you would never do anything that you had done prior to that accident, and you made a decision that that was not going to happen.
Yep.
So now you sit here, however many years later. How many years has it been now?
Now 16 years later.
16 years. Yeah. How long did it take you to get to where you were happy?
So that was very interesting. I felt like I was woken up right away. That as chaotic as it was, I'd felt more myself than I'd ever felt. So it was a matter of really creating myself. I had this clean slate foundation.
Yeah.
The personality was gone, the physical body was gone, the mind was gone. I was like, oh, I can reprogram myself. It's like being an artist and having a blank canvas. And these people are telling me what I can't do, but that almost reflected into, oh, well, that's exactly what I'm going to try. Like, you say I can't, well, I will do then.
Right.
So to explain that happiness point, it moves in phases. When I came home from college, I was with my family again. I got to reconnect with them as this new being that was rejuvenated. When I opened my business, we were inspiring thousands of people and growing other businesses and forcing them to transform to more comprehensive, holistic means, which is what I needed before my accident. So that made me very happy existentially. The happiest I could say I have been in my life, and it's truly a full circle scenario. I now work at a nonprofit that rehabilitates spinal cord injuries and traumatic brain injuries.
Amazing.
So people that have been through similar that I've been through, who are also dealing with the same, being told by doctors, you're complete, you're never going to do this, you're never going to do this, this is your limitation. And then they come and meet us, not just myself. I lived through experience and I can show them what is possible. But every person there, the trainers, the executives, every person there believes any person walking in that door will be back on their feet and recovered to the point where they were pre-injury.
What organization is this and where is it?
It's named Push to Walk. It's in Oakland, New Jersey.
Okay.
There's what they call it activity-based professional operations. We're non-clinical, so we're not associated with any hospitals or any insurance companies, which allows us to really get people to their limits and beyond without having to be kind of restricted by standards.
Right. So are you helping them to reprogram what they're telling themselves?
Absolutely. I will not, and this was in my business, Temple Kinesis, now at Push to Walk, and with the new Weiss Center, I work in trail programs with kids, teaching them about the mountains and stuff, and personal training. The word that is banned, first and foremost, is can't.
Can't.
Doesn't make any sense.
Right.
If you try to explain to me what you cannot do, in that description, you will show me and yourself that you can do it. You're just finding a way to avoid it neurolinguistically, with the words that you're saying, with the thoughts that you're thinking.
Right.
So the first thing people notice when they walk into Push to Walk, when they meet me, is that I've had an injury similar to what they have. And I'm walking, doing gymnastics, flipping, running, doing everything that I actually never did before the accident, interestingly. So I'm more capable now. So they see this vision of somebody that's more capable post-injury than pre-injury.
Right.
So philosophically, I'm kind of setting that in their mind, but they will, and I'm going to reference somebody specific. I'm not going to use him by name, but he's a new client who's become a very good friend. And his admittedly biggest issue is self-talk.
Yes.
And his perspective and his mindset. Because he's been able to accomplish everything he ever wanted to in his life prior to an injury.
Right.
Now he's confined to a wheelchair for the moment and thinks that the physical is going to get him back, but he knows intuitively, and we work on this a lot, that how he speaks to himself and how he believes is going to change everything. It's going to get him back on his feet.
It starts mentally.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
And you are helping them to overcome their hardships, which you overcame yours and are truly triumphant. But what I really want you to speak to is the words we are saying, the ability to reprogram and change our DNA.
Absolutely.
By the things
that's an
we tell
exciting
ourselves.
Conversation.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say there's two things that can happen. There's a transformation of our program DNA, and we can see this as simple as my family has, not my specific family, but how many people in America say this? Heart disease or diabetes runs in my family.
Yes.
Incorrect. Habits run in your family. Conditioned lifestyles run in your family. If someone whose both parents had diabetes chooses not to drink alcohol, not to eat sugar, and refine their diet and exercise, they will not have diabetes. They will eliminate genetically that transmission of that diabetic gene or expression, we should say, to the next generation.
Right.
We can do so with anything.
Yeah.
So we have an ability to transform what has been programmed generationally without our control that we've inherited. Our DNA responds to our syntax, the way our words combined to express a meaning. So it's not the words themselves, but it's the underlying meaning that our DNA reacts to.
Makes total sense.
Yep. The spirit of our words.
The spirit of our words. So if somebody would like to find you and speak with you, how can they find you? I'm
on social media at Flying Tobin. So you could just throw that in Google. That's my Twitter. That's my Instagram. On YouTube, I'm Tobin Osuski.
Thank you so much for coming on Wake Up and sharing your story. And truly, no matter what anyone is going through, they don't have to have a terrible thing happen to them. Even if they are just dealing with stress or depression, these things can help. So just really, truly believing, reprogramming, and our words that we use.
Correct. So I like to say it's the New Age Holy Trinity. It's thought, words, and actions, right? So here is the alchemy of it. Our thoughts give us the imagination, the visual, right? We send that down from the CEO, from the inventor of the idea, down to the manufacturing department. That charges it up and empowers it and makes form out of it, and then we send it out to the world, and look at this triangle that's created, right? Because then people reflect it and we get more ideas to better that. So this is how things work, okay? You grab ideas, you make them new, create them, visualize them, see it fully as a reality, send it to your heart, and send that charge out to the world. If you need to heal yourself, if you want to create a business, if you want to find love, it all works the same way. If you need to heal yourself, which we all do because we were born on earth, which was a trauma itself, take this process, breathe, believe in yourself mostly. If I did not believe in myself, I would not be sitting here, and I would not have walked in here today. I had a strong team of people around me, but that doesn't matter. You need you more than anybody. You know that from talks we've had.
Yeah.
When you make a decision to do something, the entire universe will conspire to make it happen. And if nobody believes in you, I believe in you. So reach out to me.
Thank you, Tobin. That was beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Wake Up with Marci. What an incredible show, Tobin. You were truly amazing. I love what you have shared with us today. Please do the work. Believe in yourself. Watch the things that you say to yourself. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. And truly be your happiest self. All right, guys, for past shows, check out my website, wakeupwithmarci.com. I'll see you next week. Bye.